there's that little participants thing at the bottom, and you'll see that number go up.
Oh, I see. Now it's going up. Yeah. Are they seeing us right now?
Morning, folks.
Welcome to the Art and Science of Tracking with Sarah. She'll be joining us in a minute. If you would like, while you're coming into the webinar, maybe in the Q&A box
Or in the chat.
In the chat box, just tell us where you're coming from, tuning in from. That would be interesting for us to find out. I'm Jane Weber. I work with Timberwolf Alliance. And that's Grace also, Northland College. Madison. Hey, Tom. Hi, Tom. Tom, you were at Wolf Ecology, I think, right? Martha from Bayfield. Sarah, your friend Martha from Bayfield is on here. Menominee, excellent. If you're coming into the webinar, type in where you're coming from. Texas, San Antonio, Gabriel, welcome.
This is great. So,
wow, in Washburn now. Oh, that's you, Grace. Really, you lived in all those places, Grace? Cool. Wisconsin. Yeah, Tom was at the Wolf Ecology workshop, Sarah, one of the people here. Tom and Sandy, I think it was, right? From Madison. Yep, great. Anybody else just coming in if you want to let us know where you're at? Mike is from Washburn. Welcome, Mike.
I see
Mentor,
someone from
Ohio. Yep. Lori, you're taking the Wolf Ecology on Saturday? I've seen your name before. Or maybe the drawing class. I don't remember. I know your name was for two events on here. I sure am. Can't wait, both. And Washburn in the Q&A. Yeah, okay, in the Q&A. Yep, got Mike Gorman in there. Welcome. Anybody else just tuning in? We're gonna wait till probably 9:05 before Sarah gets started, so.
Delafield.
Italy, oh, wow, Brunella from Italy, welcome.
Hayward.
Tom's in Hayward, excellent. Enjoying the colder weather today, Tom?
Italy, my goodness. I don't speak Italian. Help me speak. That's so exciting. What time?
Turin, okay, in Italy. Yes, Tom loves the cooler weather. Me too. Just a couple minutes and then okay. Sarah will get started.
Okay.
Georgia, excellent. Rebecca from Georgia.
Georgia. I have family that lives in Georgia. Around the Atlanta area. My father was from Atlanta, actually.
Oh.
Yeah.
Grace just left us. We're doing okay, Sarah. She must trust that we have this.
Okay. Oh, she's still there.
Oh, there you are.
I just turned off my video.
Teasing, Grace.
I'll hang around with you for a couple more minutes here.
Okay. Sarah, we lost you. There you are.
I'm still here.
Okay, there you are. Yep.
I'm not leaving.
So one more minute and then we'll start with introductions. And if you're just joining us now, please let us know where you're tuning in from. It's pretty exciting to see the variety of places people are tuning in from.
I just got a like a notice from my email. I get, ooh, I don't know how to stop that. I hope that's not going to happen during my talk.
Oh, I didn't hear anything.
Well, it shows up as a little text box.
Did not see that. Well, I don't know on your screen. That's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to do some of these things, so hopefully it won't happen.
Someone just joined us from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Welcome. Is
Oh.
it Karen? Is that how you say that? Karen or Karen?
Karen. This is amazing having people from everywhere, so far and near.
All right, so should we get started? So I'm Jane Weber. I work with Timberwolf Alliance at Northland College in Ashland, Wisconsin. And I am here to introduce and welcome all of you. Well, introduce Sarah and welcome all of you to the webinar this morning. This is Sarah Boles on your screen who will be doing the presenting today. And she began learning how to interpret wolf sign in the early 1990s. So she's been doing it for a long time. She mentored in the field, which was followed by training sessions with Jim Halfpenny and other experienced wildlife trackers. She's been working as a wildlife technician for the Wisconsin DNR on the wolf program since 1995. And she continues to hone her skills and find delight exploring the environments she finds herself in. And I can tell you from personal experience, doing an in-person tracking event with Sarah and Adrian is well worth your time if that ever works out where you can come up and come into a tour tracking class with them. And we will be offering, if you follow Timberwolf Alliance or check out our website, you can find out about events coming up. Sarah and Adrian do a winter tracking, I think, right, Sarah?
Correct.
Yeah. Welcome, Nadia from Wisconsin, and Rachel. Hello.
Rachel.
All right, Sarah, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay. Yeah, thanks. I'll just talk a little bit while I'm still on the screen, and then I'll share my screen with my PowerPoint presentation. So thank you for being here this morning, everybody. It's really exciting to have so many people on a webinar. It's a little odd teaching this or doing this presentation virtually. As with so many of our presentations, it's much better in person. I live in the Cable area in the town of Namakagon, which is east of Cable, about 14 miles. We're surrounded by the Schwamigan National Forest. So we have a lot of wild or undeveloped land around us, and we share our home with many of the animals or medium to large size carnivores that I've learned how to interpret their sign that they're here with us. And I started all this as a volunteer, and part of the focus of this Wolf Awareness Week is citizen science and volunteering. And through the Cable Natural History Museum, I took a Timberwolf Alliance workshop on wolves to help give presentations as a speakers bureau person for the museum. I didn't know anything about wolves. Wolves weren't any more or less important to me than anything else in our world. But I became, a part of this community of wolf enthusiasts, interested, conservationists and scientists and naturalists. And so I mentored with a tracker that did the winter wolf tracking for this DNR for a few winters. And then I started taking workshops on tracking and continued to be with people that I could learn from. And so anyway, I started out as a volunteer, citizen scientist, naturalist, no formalized training. And that's one of the best ways to learn. So with that, I'm going to go share my screen and go to my PowerPoint. Jane?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you're still there.
Oh, no. Well, I wouldn't abandon you. I'm here. I just turned my video off.
Okay, so share screen.
Yep.
And did you ask host disabled participant screen sharing. It says.
Okay. You should be good now. Sorry about that.
Share screen, and then I want to share computer sound as well. And share screen, share. Thanks, folks, for being patient with all of this technology that we have to navigate through. Okay, so here's my presentation. Can you see it?
Yep, looks beautiful.
Okay, great. And first, I do want to acknowledge that there's photos within my presentation that I did not take, that I have taken from the internet, so that, you know, I guess I'm, what's the copywriting, maybe infringement, I don't know how that works, but these are not my photos. Many of them are not, so I'm just going to say that first. In any case, so when I learned about this Wolf Awareness Week themes, art and science, and I mentioned to Jane that I had this presentation about the art and science of tracking. And so I use art as a definition of a skill acquired by experience, study, and observation. And then I started thinking about the way artists see and the way they interpret the world. So I thought it was a great blend of art and the science of tracking. And we do draw upon science to solidify our observations. This program was developed a few years ago as an addition to the Wisconsin Carnivore Tracking Program, in which the focus is on learning to identify tracks. For those people identified or interested in becoming a Wisconsin volunteer carnivore tracker, my goal with this is to provide insights on the activity of tracking and adding some technical skills. So this is not a presentation on how to identify the different species, but rather some of the nuances and what how to interpret and why you interpret what you interpret when you see it. I hope this becomes clear to you. So the Carnivore Tracking Workshop teaches participants how to identify the tracks of medium to large size carnivores that one would find on the Wisconsin landscape in the wintertime, conducting snow track surveys. This has been going on for 40 years, and it assists the Wisconsin DNR in determining the state wolf population. For many people, this is their first exposure to the world of tracking. The first time they learn about how to identify a track left by a member of the cat, the dog, or the weasel family. And it is just the beginning of this journey into learning about the lives of these animals that we live with or amongst. This tracking workshop is one of the training sessions that those interested in becoming a Wisconsin volunteer carnivore tracker is required to take, as well as attending a wolf ecology workshop where you learn more about the behaviors and how these animals live, because you have to know that to assist you interpreting the sign that you're seeing. So this program has been, the surveys and the track identification methods are science-based. Volunteers in Wisconsin DNR agency trackers collect data so that it's very important that the trackers follow the criteria and guidelines in the program so that there's consistent, reliable data collection. As with many things these days, this program is now, the data is being collected digitally. We have an app on our phones that records our routes and that we put our observations into. And this has been developed to make it easier, less time consuming for the folks in the offices and the researchers that are doing the population modeling and the final data assessments. So it has become digitized more, but the skills, the primitive skills of tracking are what brings the data to being recorded. You have to have that knowledge within the person, right? Because tracking, the art of tracking, is a skill that we humans have been honing and adapting to throughout our history. From the art cave paintings in France to native peoples adapting the behaviors and hunting techniques that they've observed from the predators that they live with, to us, modern man, in our mostly urban, mechanized world, but with a deep need to still connect with the natural world. So here, this is one example of how tracking and science have a deep-rooted connection. Louis Liebenberg, and I'm going to read his bio, the Executive Director of Cyber Tracker Conservation. He's an Associate of Human Evolutionary Biology at Harvard University, a laureate of the Rolex Awards for Enterprise. The Cyber Tracker software enables non-literate indigenous trackers to collect complex biodiversity data. And their software is used in conservation and research. He presents in his book, this book, The Art of Tracking, The Origin of Science, the hypothesis as this: one of the great mysteries of human evolution is how did the human mind evolve the ability to develop science? He states, the art of tracking may well be the origin of science. Science may have evolved more than 100,000 years ago with the evolution of modern hunter-gatherers. Scientific reasoning may therefore be an innate ability of the human mind. This may have far-reaching implications for self-education and tracking science. He maintains that anyone, regardless of their level of training, can contribute to science. This is a video of Louis talking about and with the Aboriginal San people or Bushmen in the Kalahari that he works with and has worked with, and that Cyber Tracker has been developed. So listen to his words and think about how this is this is the same methodology that we use and have as trackers.
What I find exciting about tracking and even just looking at tracks, I mean, we even found our training a little steenbok through very, very hard terrain, how difficult it can be not just to recognize the track of the steenbok, but that particular steenbok as opposed to the other steenbok. You know, it's just like a little bit shorter, a little bit wider, whereas that one's got a slightly more narrow, slightly longer hoof. Those very fine little perceptions. And the almost infinite complexity and subtlety of animal tracking, that even after 30 years, you still struggle, you still feel that there's so much more to learn. There's also that sense of humility, is that even the best master tracker can make a mistake. we project images into the sand to try and figure out what it is. And sometimes, one tracker sees it this way, another tracker sees it that way, and then they start debating and they look for more evidence until they find enough evidence that they can decide which one of them have the correct interpretation. It's a sort of a very creative discussion that goes on, sometimes looking at very, very subtle signs. And I think we've all got a lot to learn from that process. It's not about the individuals who's right or wrong. It's about the process of getting to the correct answer in the end. And that also requires a humility to recognize when you yourself have made a mistake and whether the other interpretation may be the correct one. And then you move forward from there. You sort of immerse yourself into nature, into the culture, into tracking, and it's just this never-ending process of discovery. There's always something exciting, something new that you find.
So I hope you were able to hear his words. There's so many lessons there, the humility, the knowledge, the being open to knowing that there are many ways that we see and interpret what we're seeing, and that give and take when you're with a group is so helpful and so important. And we all learn from each other as we are out in the field discovering what it is that we're seeing. There are many organizations that offer immersion tracking and sign reading courses. The tracking community is widespread, and there's different philosophies and styles. Seek out ones in your area, find mentors to work with and be out in the field with. Adrian, my husband, has taken the cyber tracker sign cutting level 2 certification course. This is Dr. James Halfpenny that we've worked with for many years. He used to come to Wisconsin to lead our workshops. There is, this is a website, the tracker certification, where there are ongoing courses. So I encourage you all, or anyone that's interested, to check out their website yeah, see which organizations group fit you, what your goals and needs are. So our developmental skills. I was born in Chicago. The world I learned how to navigate in was urban and had many moving parts. I had to learn how to navigate my world for my safety and how to survive, in this kind of environment. Regardless of where our early development took place, we all learn how to read our surroundings to stay safe and in many different situations. We learn these skills every waking hour. So much of what we know about our surroundings, we're not even conscious of as we move through our day anymore. We have a routine. We know what roads we're going on. If we don't, we look at maps. We look at traffic signals. We know when to not or to cross a street. We would hopefully know where there's possibly an unsafe place to venture into because of our awareness. So we are always sort of tracking. We are navigating our world. Our senses, when you bring yourself into an unfamiliar area or are seeking some new information, then we have to bring into conscious action the skills necessary to find our way. We draw upon our background experiences to make sense of what we're encountering. We are heavily sight dependent. but those that are sight impaired have developed their other senses to assist and interpret their way. Those of us that are sighted need to practice using our other senses. Challenge yourself. What do I smell? What do I see? What am I hearing? What am I feeling? Close your eyes. See if you can find your way or go out at night without any artificial light. Other animals have so much more in tuned or more, they use their other senses, their eyesight and their smell, than our world is so heavily sight dependent. Oh, I thought I had, sorry, I had a different page there, but go to here. There is sign all around us. And now I'm talking about the natural world, of course. So when we are seeking to learn about the animals inhabiting the areas with us, we need to look for sign of their presence, because for the most part, they don't want to be seen by us or the predators that are also looking for them. So within these pictures, where's the woodcock? Where's the snowshoe hare? The wolf? The grouse? The trail? The fawn? How do you recognize when there's something different, out of context? Even the predators, when they move through the landscape, they don't want to be heard or seen to alert their prey that they're stalking or tracking. So, you know, these images, there's camouflage for these animals, but there's also subtle, you can, if you look clear, hopefully you're finding, you know, where if there's not like a sign that says, here's the trail, how do you know there's a trail there? You look for little openings, you look for bent leaves, you look for stones unturned. How do you know where the grouse is? The snowshoe hare, the wolf, and the woodcock. Take in the whole picture. When you listen, and this is for bird songs, the other scavengers, the ravens that have a long-standing relationship with wolves, listen for ravens, listen for crows, listen for the sound of howling, I don't know, that it might draw you to find the kill site. Your sense of smell, of course, canines, they have their noses are on the top, you know, they can smell, that's why they're used for tracking. But we can detect the scent of scat and fox urine and other smells. Feel the texture of the substrate. Is it soft? Is it squishy? Is it hard? These tracks that Adrian has discovered are actually inverted from the freezing and thawing. You could actually feel the track on top of the snow, or you can put your hand into the snow and feel the indentations inside of the track. Keep a journal. You need to record, or you should be recording your observations. You don't have to be an artist to keep a journal, adding sketches. Keeping a journal is collecting data, and that will provide reference for you to draw upon. As you sketch and note your observations, details will emerge that you otherwise might not have taken note of. Now, I looked up the definitions of perception and imagination. And I also asked a friend, an artist friend of mine, how she or other artists see and then create. And this is her answer that she provided. There's 5 characteristics of a creative person. flexibility in how you interpret what you're seeing, a sense of curiosity, positive attitude that spurs the mind on to seek detail and wonder, and finally, motivation and determination. And I think all of those attributes and characteristics fit a tracker as well. Now, as we navigate daily, we use selective perception that can limit our awareness. We're focused on one thing, we've got, one thing on our mind, and so our situational awareness is sometimes turned off. And then if we have preconceived ideas about what it is that we're looking for or looking at, that can assist us, but that can also detract from what we're looking for. Because you might already, if you think you're seeing something, we'll have people say, oh, I saw whatever. And we look at the tracks and it's not what they thought they saw, but because they wanted to see what they said they saw, that's what they saw, if you're following me. So you have to keep an open mind. There are elements of visual perception when you are looking at the substrate. There's the texture. Is it rough or smooth? In contrast to the baseline, and the baseline is the naturally occurring condition of that substrate. There's differences in color and shades. There's differences in lightness and darkness. The shapes, the negative space of what you're seeing develops the edge to give you that a sense that of what's there. This picture is our gravel driveway, and I noticed the disturbance there. There's a difference in the baseline and the images or the imprints that were made. And that's the first thing I noticed. And then after looking a little further, of course, and broadening my view, this is what I found, of course. Here was Mama Snapper. She was laying eggs in our driveway. But at first I saw her trail. And then I saw the digging, and then of course I saw her. But if she wouldn't have been there, I do have some experience with snapper behavior, and so I would have drawn on that conclusion. But the first thing that alerted me to that there was something going on here was that disturbance in the gravel. So we all see and interpret what we're seeing differently. The following images will give examples of this. If you would like, I ask for your participation by entering in the Q&A the answer to my question. So, are you ready? Okay, tell me what you see. Who sees the old woman? Who sees the beautiful young woman or the young woman? What do you see? Is it a skull or a beautiful young woman looking in a mirror? What do you see?
Two people see the young woman.
Am I going, I'm sorry?
Two people see the young woman in that picture. That's what I saw too.
Oh, okay. Maybe I should go slower.
The rabbit and the duck, someone sees. The skull and a woman both.
Okay. And people you have to give your first impression. And even if maybe I shouldn't say what it is.
Young woman.
Just, what do you see?
A skull, a duck. Duck. So you can probably go on from here, Sarah. Whoa, that's cool.
What do you see?
Albatross, a duck.
Oh. Okay. Oh, that's the other one.
Woman. Woman profile. Cool.
Man playing a saxophone?
Wow. And in the chat, a man in a sax, a woman profile,
Okay.
a face,
Now
duck,
what do you
rabbit,
see here?
cat,
Okay, well,
cat, bat. Someone sees a bat. A guy with a sax, so that's from before, okay.
how about okay,
A
this,
rat, someone sees a
Okay.
rat, a
all right,
cat.
we got the rat going. Okay, a rat and a cat. So friends, all of these are optical illusions. And it's just so very interesting, isn't it? You can find tons, hundreds of these examples, you know, of our perceptions and what you see until someone points out something else. And then you go, oh, I see that. And then how it can shift back and forth to what it is that we're seeing. And, you know, the same thing with the images in the clouds or looking at tracks or disturbance in a substrate. When we're trying to explain what it is we're seeing, do you see what I see? Sometimes I don't see what they see or you see. But so you really have to, you know, take a moment and open your mind. You have to have a reference for identification of objects. I was a member of our volunteer fire department for 17 years. We had training in search and rescue, looking for lost or missing persons and accidents in remote areas. The techniques for these types of tracking are basically the same. One main point that stood out for me was, again, keeping an open mind, as sometimes what you see may not make sense at first until you put all the pieces together. Everything leaves some kind of sign, some reaction to their action. I bet that here you can recognize from a distance a family member or friend by their shape or their gait from a distance. The bottom image there, when is, with the text, when is an airplane not an airplane? Well, when it's all torn apart, it doesn't look like when you think what an airplane should look like. So you have to keep an open mind on what it is you're seeing. Through search and rescue tracking, and this pertains to, you know, animal tracking as well, there's weight shifts. Animals have injuries that changes their gait patterns. I have an elderly cat that has arthritis. She walks different than she used to walk. You know, so if you have the opportunity to become intimately aware of your surrounding area, the animals that live where you live, you can start to identify individuals by the differences that their bodies, their movements present. You have to see the world through the eyes of the quadrupeds that we're tracking. We're bipedal. We see the world from our vantage point. You got to get down on all fours and see the world through the vantage point that those animals see. Get down there, move around, hop like a rabbit, walk like a bear. Try to see if you can mimic the way a canid trots. Now, you know, back to the training and the classes where you learn the different foot patterns that these family groups possess so that you can identify the unique characteristics that separate them. So you know the difference between a plantigrade, you know, a flat-footed animal, a digigrade, animals that walk on their toes, unguligrades, animals that walk on their claws. And for some people, it's like, wow, what an aha moment.
gates represent the way the mammals are
goodness, I
moving
don't
on the
know why that
landscape, and we
is-
typically describe them going from the slowest
There's a
being the
narration
walk,
there. Anyway, we
slightly
talk
faster
about
being the
gaits as
amble,
well, because you
trot,
need to know
lope,
how animals are
gallop,
moving
and
and
then
what they're
bound is
doing.
the fastest.
That was strange. So again, with training, you get a search image. You learn what the different tracks look like, and then you get that idea in your head, which helps you to differentiate when you see a lot of sign, how to pick out the differences and interpret the story that goes along with what you're seeing. And there can be many different interpretations. That's the fun about going out with a group. What happened here? What kind of bird was that? Is it hunting? Did I just scare it? This is a well-worn wildlife trail through some shrubbery. You know, where are they going? Where's everybody going? What's going on? Now, this is an example of having clues and data points to assist in research going on in Voyageurs National Park when the relationship with wolves and beavers. So the wolves are fitted with GPS radio tracking collars. The data is collected, data points are clustered, so they're giving the researchers an area to investigate. Knowing that where there's a cluster, the wolves have spent some time, so they probably are feeding, and so they want to go in to find the kill sites. What are they, how many animals, what are they eating? And most of the time here, it takes them to like a sedge meadow or beaver pond. And you see this, and what they're looking for are the remains of what the wolves had been feeding upon. So you're looking for small pieces of bone. How do you do that? It takes patience, practice, determination, and a search image. There's the bone teeth of the beaver. So they do this countless times. After a while, they get pretty good at it. Adrian went up and did some of this with Tom Gable at Voyageurs. So just an example of how, again, science and tracking, blending those skills. Oh, there you go. Okay, so again, avoid quickly labeling a track with a species name. Don't be too quick. Ask diagnostic questions. What am I seeing? How many toes am I looking at? What's the size? What's the shape? Where are they going? What's going on here? Does it make sense? And not that I've ever encountered anyone out there, you know, leaving tracks with these boots. But I have had a person try to convince me that I was seeing cougar tracks one time when I wasn't. And they did fess up that they had gone ahead of me and made these imprints in the substrate. I didn't fall for it though, because all of a sudden it was just there. They don't just all of a sudden appear. When you have some training, background information on how to identify the different species, there's the diagnostic keys to use when making a determination. These images were sent to us as a cougar observation. And because 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 toes, there's now the 5th toe doesn't always show. These folks thought that there weren't claws showing, they thought they had a cougar. These are bear tracks. So you look for the diagnostic clues and to help you with your identification. But all this takes dirt time. You have to be out there. You have to be out there experiencing the differences in the substrate, be it snow or mud, ice, because it all changes. The depth of a track can change so much. It's not just on the weight of the person or the animal. It depends on the substrate, how soft it is, how hard it is. Is it clay where it sticks to your or the animal's foot and becomes bigger and bigger? Or is it really soft, so when you step in it, it smushes out? Or do they pick up some of that material and then carry it with them and place it on another substrate? So there's all different kinds of textures, the characteristics that will change the shape of the tracks. These are images of a wolf track there on the left in sand and quite fresh, because you can see that the texture, the moisture level is still visible at the base of that track. It hasn't evaporated yet. The image on the right is a trail, direct registration of a wolf going down a sandy road within the tread marks of a vehicle. So we're able to pick out the differences in the lines between the tire tracks and the animal tracks. So substrate, can be a real gift or it can be a real challenge, depending on, the time of year and the material. Also, there's body mechanics and how when they, for direction of travel that you learn when an animal or a person puts their foot down into, say, snow here and picks it up, a plowing effect that is left. Again, the debris that is either put into the track or taken out of the track. If you're stepping on frost and you're melting the frost. And again, sticking your hand in the tracks or blowing the snow or the dust out of the tracks can help reveal what's underneath. This is an example of a raccoon walking across a frosty board, and it melted the frost as it walked across the board. Light and shadow can either really help you or really confuse you because of the way that it obliterates tracks or makes them appear bigger. I've had instances where going one direction, I didn't pick up anything. And then when I turned around and went back the other direction, the way the light played, I could all of a sudden see a difference in the substrate. There was a little bit of shadow that was projected. So just like when you're fishing or out on a sunny day, wear sunglasses to help with that light. Orientate yourself so that it's you, the track, and the light source. Or for sure, move around. And morning or afternoons instead of when the sun is directly overhead and making everything flat. When we talk about
two most important measurements we get on a track are the length measurement and the width measurement.
Well, that's
this illustration shows how we take those measurements. So the length would be the furthest extent of the longest toe to the back of either the interdigital pad or the heel pad, depending on what kind of foot we have. Okay. We don't include additional structures such as metacarpal pads, and we don't include the claws in our measurements.
I don't know why there was that narration came on with that slide. So I apologize for that. I don't know if you could hear that or not. Jane?
Yeah, I could hear it just fine. It was good.
You could hear that narration?
Yep.
Oh,
yep, it was good. Yep.
I didn't know that it was even going to do that. So
no, it was perfect.
It kind of
just to let you know, Sarah, we're at the 10-minute.
All right, I'm getting there. Okay. Weather, external and internal forces will shrink or swell, freeze and thaw, can change the track size. So take all of that into consideration. What was the weather doing? What is the substrate? Again, did it alter the size or the shape of what you're seeing? Again, that we have criteria that outlines the conditions of the tracks. And if you do take part in our tracking program, this track condition criteria and definitions are on our tracking forms, just so gives you some baseline. Aging tracks, that is a skill that takes a lot of practice. And so sometimes it's just broad. They're either really fresh or they're really old, or you just really don't know. And it's okay if you don't know, always. This is a good example of various ages of tracks. Skiing, following wolf sign on a frozen river in a wetland. Our tracks, crisp, fresh tracks, the old tracks, soft, snow blown in. It's a good example of the different ages. What plays on that? Why do they change? We've got gravity, you got wind, you have sun, the snow conditions. This is 3 o'clock and at 10 o'clock, the 10 a.m. the track was set down. At 3 in the afternoon, that track was set down, just to show you how they age within that time frame. And then there's ancient tracks. This is just also an example of how tracking skills can, come into play in the most unexpected places. And this is when we were in Oklahoma. These are dinosaur tracks that had become exposed. And there's Adrian with his ruler and his tracker book taking measurements. So he's always doing it. Okay. You can also, to help you develop the skill on how to age tracks, create a test plot, whether it's in snow or sand or whatever. One in the sun, one in the shade, level an area out, make your foot impressions in there daily, and look at them and see how they change over time. And remember, things aren't always as they seem out there. You never know what you might encounter in a whole mess of, single species animals. There may be something different. So also look carefully and take your time, but mostly have fun. Enjoy yourself and don't take yourself too seriously. So with that, that's it. I think I did it.
That was great. That was great, Sarah. If any of you, we have a couple minutes left. If anybody has any questions for Sarah, you can put it in the Q&A box or the chat. I'll keep watching both. But if there's a question, let me know.
I do apologize. Those slides that had the narration, I realized those were part of our tracking course that had to be recorded for virtual training. And so that those images had the narration embedded in them, and it didn't play when I practiced. It just played now.
Well, it was great. It was totally appropriate. So
if I knew it worked, that I would have let them play out. So I do apologize for that little glitch. But yeah, anybody have any comments they'd like to share or throw out there? Experiences? I don't know. Everybody's pretty quiet.
When and where will the tracking course be held?
Okay, so the tracking course, Adrian.
I don't think you guys have picked a date yet for it.
Yeah, he just said he doesn't think we have the date set yet. Normally, yeah, it's early in November, but I have to check with Shannon. Oh, Timberwolf Alliance, he doesn't know.
Yeah, we don't have it on the calendar yet, so
Well,
as soon
we'll
as
have
it's
to
on
do
the
that.
calendar, I will post it on Facebook and our website. So Nadia wonders, will this tracking help me to fulfill my dream of becoming a wolf biologist?
Oh, oh, that's so great.
And then Brunella said, I just want to thank you all for this interesting and passionate lesson. I've learned that tracking is like the book of nature.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. And then the narration was probably saved in the PowerPoint. Oh, I see. Yeah, that's what I did.
It's a tip, yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah. This is, again, it's challenging doing this virtually. I so much more, and I'm sure even the attendees like it in person where we can really interact and, you know, get outside too and look at examples. So I hope that at least this certainly gave people some food for thought to take with them as they grow in their interests of tracking and being out and about, hiking, whatever you like to do.
So if this piqued your interest, just stay tuned because you could participate with these two amazing people, Sarah and Adrian, and actually get out in the field and learn some tracking skills with them. So stay tuned to Timberwolf Alliance or on the webpage or the Facebook page.
Yeah, and I do hope I hope there's a evaluation, or I would like comments too from folks on, you know, how I could improve this talk or what I could change or what I could add. So I would love to hear back from all of you.
And you can do that via me also if you have my email, and I can get it to Sarah too if you have any suggestions you want me to let her know. Okay. But with that, it looks like
we're done.
We're done. Thank you all so much for participating. And this has been recorded. So I think either I will send that link out or Zoom sends that link out. But if you want a recording of it and you don't get it, just make sure you contact us and I'll make sure you get it.
Okay.
Such a wonderful talk. Thank you from Mike. Molly says thank you.
Thank you, Jane, for all your help.
Thank you.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Sarah, you did an awesome job. Thank you. Thank you. Everybody's thanking you. Kisses from Italy. Thank you, Italy, for joining us. Amazing.
Fabulous.
Wonderful.
Great.
All right.
Well, all right.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. See you later.
Wisconsin cheese. That's good. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sarah.